All right. Oh, hello, Patty. How are you? All right, please, I'm so sorry if I don't say hello to everybody. As I said, some of you might have missed it, but as I said, I probably am not going to be able to see things scrolling along. So anyways, thank you all so much for stopping by and viewing my new video series. I've wanted to do this for quite some time. I have always wanted to take some of my earliest designs that I did for punch needle embroidery, and I'm going to try to shut those comments off because I can't. There we go. Take some of my earlier punch needle designs and things from designs that I put in the Gazette each month and bring them to life in a different way. The earliest punch needle patterns I've always wanted to redo through rug hooking or wool applique, and the Gazette, each month I put a design in the Little Brown House Gazette and subscribers can do with whatever they would like with that design, bring it to life in any way they wish. But I rarely get to see those drawings finished, something done with them. So I thought, well, it'd be nice to start working my way through my past patterns and different Gazette issues, designs, and bring them to life myself. So I decided I wanted to do that. And right now, I kind of feel like I am just going to do wool applique, but rarely do I ever stick with just one thing. So I would like to do a couple of them through punch needle. That will be harder for me. Punch needle has started really bothering my hands. So I have really had to switch up out of necessity. I've had to switch what I'm doing. If I punch for an hour or even less, my hand is so cramped up that I have to physically open it back up. And of course, I don't want to make that worse by continuing to punch needle. So most of the time, it will probably be wool applique, which I love. And I've wanted to do wool applique for quite some time. So it seems like the universe was telling me it was time to do it. So most of the time, they'll be through wool applique. They might, a small project maybe will be punch needle if I can do it. Maybe someday I'll hook something. Right now I'm not skilled enough for rug hooking to do that on camera. There's a lot with wool applique I'm not proficient in, but I'm just gonna go for it. I thought I needed to know everything first, and I was going to make sure I had everything just perfect and everything lined up, but you know what? I'm just gonna go and fly by the seat of my pants with this, and we'll learn together. This first project that we're doing, the pumpkin lady and her deer companion, was the design in the October issue of the Little Brown House Gazette. Free to the Gazette subscribers, but I'm charging, which most of you know if you've read the information on my website, but I'll just go through it again. I'm charging a small fee for the template. You, of course, need to have the template to do this project. The videos, the supply list, that's all free if you follow along with the videos. And, of course, you don't have to follow along with the live. After I do the live videos, they'll make their way over to YouTube, and that's where they'll stay permanently. And I just realized I say a lot, so please excuse that. They'll make their way over to their permanent home on YouTube. That's where they'll stay. But each project that I do in each month and a half, I would like to do a new project every month, but my schedule might not always allow that. But I'll try each month to do a different project, and each one will come from most likely a past design, something from the Gazette, something from my pattern line. But now and again, I might throw in something new. I'll always give you access to it. Hello, Debbie. How are you? I'll always give you access to it as much ahead of time as I possibly can. sometimes things don't always, I come about as easily as I plan them to be. So, but I'll try to give you a heads up, try to let you know what it is ahead of time so you can make sure that you have that template in case it's not something you already have. I'll show you, I already know our next project, so I will give that to you in plenty of time so that you can make sure that you have it. It's from my book of templates. That our next project, the November project, will be from the book, my newest book of templates. So just to let you know, it's the Old Father Christmas. My updated version of Old Father Christmas will be our November project. Good morning, Kelly. All right, and I'm going to stop doing that because I think it'll throw me off if I keep stopping and reading the comments, and I'm sure you don't need to see me squinting at the screen every few minutes. All right, let's see. What else do I need to cover? I think basically that's it. We'll go through, as I said, I'll let you know. This month, it was kind of hard. I had a workshop over this past weekend, so I didn't get to post the template and the project as early as I wanted to. But I will try to make sure that I post the project and give you a heads up so you have a little bit of time to get your ducks in a row if you wish to participate and make it along with me. You don't have to. I never find it easy to stitch along with a live video. I always watch them afterwards. But some people like to do that, and if you want to do that, you certainly can. So I'll try to make sure to give you enough time to get the template and whatever supplies you might want, so that you can do that. I'm not going to stitch I won't do start to finish all video. I'm going to work on things, and most of the stitching I'll do the little things. I won't iron all my templates onto the wool on camera. I might and I might not. So I'm not going to commit right now to every single detail of this project being on the video, but for the most part, everything is going to be there. But the little things that I know you all generally would know how to do, I'm not going to bother showing you. At least I don't think I am. A lot of it depends on time. If time is going well and I'm not chewing up all of my video time, because sometimes these are the lives, and a lot of times I don't want to push our internet service. We have very poor internet service here in Vermont. We live in a rural area. It's just a fact of life in rural areas. And so our internet is not so great, and certain times of day it doesn't do well. So I'm thinking each video will be an hour or under. Sometimes it might be a little more, sometimes a little less, but we'll play around with that and see how it goes. But I plan on covering everything and explaining everything to you. I just might not show every tiny little detail on the video. But then again, that being said, I can't really see with this project what I wouldn't, but I also don't want to bore you. So, there's only so long you can watch me stitch. You'll get the idea, and I don't want to sit here and stitch every teeny tiny little detail when watching me for a few minutes will be enough for you. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. All right, so that, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to tell you while you're looking at me. I think I'll switch it down now, and if I think of something else, you don't need to be looking at my face for me to tell you every little detail of what I wanted to cover. All right, let's see. So, wish me luck switching this over. All right. That was the ice maker, in case you're wondering what that loud noise was. All right, you guys let me know. Hello, Dale. You guys let me know if everything is looking good and it's straight and lovely, not crooked. Now, you might be saying, I thought we were stitching this together, and I'm going to try to move it down a little bit more. This, I have it partially done because I just wanted to give you an idea. I really should have moved her, because don't go by this. You're probably going to leave here thinking I'm all over the place, and hopefully you'll stick with me and give me a chance to let this come together. Maybe by the second project in November, we'll have all the glitches ironed out. But anyways, I should have moved this because she is going to be a little bit different than what you see here. All right, so this is our template. And you'll see, I feel terrible. I feel like I'm going to jump around, and I don't mean to do that. This is the pumpkin lady and her companion. This is the project we're going to be working on. We'll go through supplies and everything you need in just a moment. But because this is here and you guys can now see it, I wanted to let you know this right here, where you can see her shawl and skirt meet up. When we go to stitch that, because I'm going to make another one start to finish with you, this, I just wanted to kind of play around with her a little bit so that I could iron a few things out. And I'm glad I did, because I found a couple of issues that I wanted to address. First, the skirt and the shawl. Typically, I don't like to overlap my wool when I'm doing wool applique because I feel like it makes things bumpy. But actually, this shawl is going to need to overlap this skirt because I don't like how this looks. I don't like how it looks where they meet up. I'm going to, when we go to stitch this project from the beginning, I'm going to overlap the shawl onto the skirt. But as you can see, this is how it looks if you butt them up against each other. And if you like this look better, you can do that. I'm going to try it with overlapping the shawl onto the skirt so it looks more like this. Okay? All right, let's go through our supplies we'll need. Let me move this gal. I've got all sorts of notes. Okay. Oh, I wanted to ask. I was thinking I would come in every day, do a video, and, you know, an hour or so every single day until the project was done. And then I started thinking maybe that wouldn't work out. I wouldn't be able to be here at the same time every day. So, excuse me. I'm not exactly sure how I will, like I plan it, I would like to do today at 11, tomorrow at 11, every day until it's finished. Not the weekend though, I don't think. But I'm gonna need to decide that so I don't leave you guys up in the air. I don't want you to leave you hanging. And I did post on my website how I was going to be doing it, so I guess I should probably stick with that. But just know, schedule-wise, something may change, a time may need to change. Okay, so we've got our pumpkin lady and her turkey. We're going to be creating her using Blackberry Primitives wool. If you guys print it out, or if you happen to notice, I put in the files here in the group a supply list. You do not have to use the wool colors I use. You are welcome to create this project in any colors you wish, using any materials you wish. You could use cotton, you could use wool felt. I'm using 100% hand-dyed wool from Blackberry Primitives. It is gorgeous, my favorite wool. Sorry, I just wanted to adjust that a smidge. There we go. Her entire body will be wool, or this entire piece will be wool, but we are going to have some decorative stitching, because when I went to stitch the sample that I just showed you, I discovered that fiddling around with teeny tiny pieces of wool for areas such as her eyes, nose, mouth, the little leaf here, and these little areas are quite challenging, and the wool just ended up fraying, which you're going to find with any wool. Wool just tends to fray. So I decided that we would do the eyes, the nose, the mouth, probably this leaf, and definitely these pocket areas with different embroidery stitches. I'm going to do the stem stitch here for the pumpkin shadowy areas, and maybe a satin stitch for the mouth, nose, and eyes. We'll be doing blanket stitch throughout most of it. But that being said as well, I know a lot of people don't care for the blanket stitch. They don't like doing it. You don't have to do the blanket stitch. As I said, I'm going to create this design in the manner in which I do wool applique. You are welcome to do it that way or develop your own way. But if you want to see how I do it, that's how I'm going to do it. All right, let's go over the supply list. I don't know if all of you were here at the beginning, but I had a little trouble. I couldn't get my printer to cooperate, and I couldn't print out the supply list that I put in the files for you guys. So I'm just going to wing it and go over everything. Now, the supply list that I provided is, what was I just going to say? I lost my train of thought. It's not something you absolutely have to stick with, but it's also something that could possibly change if something isn't quite working out. I don't see why that would happen, but you know, I just want to give myself a lot of leeway so I don't have anybody yelling at me and saying, but the supply list says such and such. The supply list is a bare bones supply list, and something sizes, the piece of wool size you might need, or threads you might need, might change. Just be aware of that. All right, so for the background, oh, by the way, I probably should tell you, this is going to be a 10-inch by 12-inch wall hanging, is what I plan to finish it as. It would also make a nice pillow, a little table mat you could make. So, but I plan to finish it as a wall hanging. The background, I gave you two choices. I couldn't decide if I wanted to use this, which is called hickory. It's hickory. It's the textured wool from Blackberry Primitives. I love this. This is my favorite background. But I wasn't positive I was going to use it because I wasn't sure if the black might be better. Sorry for the sloppiness, everyone. But I'll be using this one, the hickory. This is the color I will be using, because look how lovely it is. So you'll need a piece of that. The finished wall hanging is going to be 10-inch by 12-inch. So just get yourself a piece of wool. You'll probably need to buy fat quarter pieces from Blackberry Primitives if you're going to use all the wool that I'm using. So you'll have to just buy fat quarters. So you'll need, I would cut out a piece for the background approximately 12 inches by 14 inches. That way you give yourself a little leeway to trim off the edges at the end or put a backing on it. We can fold it over and, you know, put the backing, then fold the edges over and stitch them, and that way you have a nice clean finish. So this will be our background. You could also, I added to the supply list, you could also use gunmetal from Blackberry Primitives. It's a mottled, hopefully I'm saying that right, mottled solid color. It's very nice. That would make a very nice background. Let me see. I see Debbie is asking about the supply list. Debbie, that is here in the group under files. You'll find it. Don't stress yourself. You can find it afterwards, or I can email it to you. But it's in the files here in the group, listed under files. Okay, so for the background, either hickory or gunmetal would work wonderfully. I am going to be using hickory. And then we have, let's see here. For her skirt, we are going to be using, ooh, this is my favorite Blackberry Primitives color. It's called Pear. Isn't it just beautiful? So that will be for her skirt. And I did, on the supply list, I did write down the wool color, what you want to order. The way Blackberry Primitives wool is listed, you can either order a textured piece or a mottled solid piece. So I made sure to put that in the supply list, which one you would want. The Pear, we are going to be using the mottled solid piece. And that will be for her skirt. And originally I thought it would be for the little leaf up here, but I found it to be too small and it frayed. So like I mentioned, I think I'm just going to try to maybe do a satin stitch for that little leaf. I'm already learning, when you design a template for Wool Applique, things can't be too small. So, as I said, this is a learn as I go for me as much as for you. Okay, so the next, Army Green. This is another great color. You'll want the mottled solid. On the supply list, I put the actual size piece of wool you're going to need. That way, if you want to pull from your wool scrap piles and use stuff you already have on hand, you'll know what size piece you need from the supply list that I gave you. So Army Green is going to be for her shawl and the pumpkin stem. So her shawl, both, they're two separate pieces, but they're both going to be from Army Green, and this little pumpkin stem will be from the Army Green. You'll just need a 5.5 by 4 inch piece of the Army Green wool to cover both those shawl pieces and the stem piece. The pear wool, I just realized I forgot to tell you. You're welcome, Debbie. Forgot to tell you, you'll just need a 5.5 by 5 inch piece of the pear wool. So they're very small amounts of wool that you'll need for this project. So if you don't want to go and buy fat quarter pieces of all these colors, feel free to use whatever wool you have. But I will tell you, you can't go wrong with buying this Blackberry Primitives wool. You will love it. It is gorgeous. I highly suggest you just break down and buy the wools. All right, so let me see, terracotta. Now I would like to use terracotta for her head. Let me see, her head, her arms, her neck. So her head, her neck, and her two arms. I have a little note about the arms. Let me tell you right now, and then I'll try to remember to cover it again. The arms on this template, we're going to have to make a little bit longer when we go to cut them out. That is another thing I found out when I did my little practice run with the sample. So we'll try to remember that we need to make the arms, I don't know, a 1/4 inch or so longer than they are here. It didn't look right when I cut them out and tried to applique them this same size. It just looked too short. She looked a little stumpy, so I just want to make sure we do that. So anyways, I would like to use this terracotta wool, which I actually already have cut out. It's very nice, but you may find it to be a little too red for your liking as far as a pumpkin goes. And if that's the case, feel free to choose a different color wool for the head, neck, and arms. This one here, as you can see, I chose a more orange traditional pumpkin. I can show you the arm in just a second. I chose a more orange traditional pumpkin color, and I do like it, and I thought that was my choice. But now I think when we stitch this together, I think I'm going to choose the terracotta colored wool, this more reddish. I just love it. She's nice, but I feel like this is more of a, it's more of a Thanksgiving look. At least for me, I feel it says Thanksgiving to me more. This says more October. This says more November to me. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy, but I just really like this terracotta wool. I think it's beautiful, and I want to use it for her head. So that's what I'm going to choose. By all means, if you guys think that that's a little too off for a pumpkin, you can certainly use a different color. Use a traditional orange or even a white pumpkin. There's blue pumpkins now. I feel like this is, it's a little more red than it appears on screen. I think that's why. I don't want to steer you guys wrong. It appears a little bit more red in person than it does on screen. So I don't want you to see it on the screen here, think it's orangey enough for a pumpkin, and then receive it in the mail and realize, oh, that's too red. So it's more on the brick side of things than on the orangey side, if that makes sense to you, which I hope it does. Okay, so let's go back to the arm for a minute so you can see what I'm saying about the arm. I cut that out exactly the size it is on the template right here. And it's too short to use in this manner. It might work when I bring the shawl over the skirt like I'm going to do when we stitch this together, but right now that doesn't work. It just doesn't look right to me. It looks too short and they need to be a little bit longer. I want to put the stitched slits or pockets right here, so I need these arms to be a little longer. So just be prepared when you cut your template pieces. Just make your arms about 1/4 inch longer than they are on the template. I should have made a note of that on the supply list. I apologize for that. I actually just realized it last night, so I didn't even think of it again. All right, so let's get back here. We've got all of these. So for the terracotta wool, or whatever wool you're going to use for her head, neck, and 2 arms, you're going to want a 4" by 4" piece of wool. Again, they're very small pieces of wool that you need for this project. The biggest piece, obviously, is just the background. All right, so for the turkey, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite turkeys I've ever drawn. I think he's so cute. The turkey, I am using Sand Dollar, which I can't seem to find. Oh, hold on. I will be right back. I have to go grab it. See, more glitches. Okay. This is Sand Dollar. It is a nice mottled, oh, the terracotta. Oh my gosh, I apologize. The army green is a mottled solid. The terracotta is a mottled solid. And the sand dollar is a mottled solid. You can certainly order the textured versions of these. They'll just look different than mine, obviously. So I wanted to let you know about the sand dollar is what we're using for the entire turkey, except for the crop, wattle and crop, those are called. One second, I need to get a drink. Okay. Blackberry Primitives wool is so nicely modeled in its color variations that you can use. It's very hard to tell here. Let me try turning on my new light that I have. Ooh, that is bright. Hopefully it hasn't been too dark for you guys. I just realized I probably should have turned this light on a little bit ago. Let me know what you think of having the light on. Is it too bright? Do you not like it? Should I turn it back off, or does it make things better? So anyways, Blackberry Primitives, the modeling is so nice that you can take one piece and use it for different areas of the same project. So the turkey, you'll see I noted this on your template. The turkey is going to be sand dollar. And we'll of course add decorative stitching here and there. The wing is going to be done with a stem stitch. But the body, the neck, the head, the beak, and this upper wing are going to be a lighter piece of sand dollar. So say right through here, this very light. And then this lower tail feather is going to be, I'll take it, as you can see, I already did for the other one I did. The light is good on? Okay, great, ladies, thank you. So I'll cut the lower tail feather from a darker section, and it'll be enough of a difference, especially when we stitch with, this is what we'll be using to stitch everything down with. Excuse me, I'm sorry. See, I'm opening and shutting the wool. It's already starting to get to me. It'll create enough of a shadow when we have our threads and everything that you can use this same color for this whole turkey, and it will still work out. As you can see here, let me see. See, he's light colored here. Just a little. And then I did the darker piece right here, and then the lighter here. And it, to me, it works out. If you guys would rather have something with a little bit more depth and distinction to it, you certainly can do that. But that's the way I'm going to be doing it. All right, so that's sand dollar. And for the sand dollar, you'll want approximately a 5.5 inch by 4 inch piece for the light areas, and a 2.5 by 2.5 inch piece for the dark areas. Look at all these wools together. Aren't they just so gorgeous? These are nice primitive colors. All right, now we have, you're going to want, what is this one? Red velvet, this is called. This is the perfect Christmassy color, isn't it? We'll be using this for our next project. Let's see what I mean about the modeling. Somebody let me know if I'm saying that wrong. Not that you could tell me how to say it, but just say, yes, it's wrong, or you're doing it okay. But there's some dark in here, so you could get a nice dark piece right here, and there's some light over here. I'm so fascinated by it because I didn't used to like wool that was modeled. Now I do. It just works out. So you'll want a tiny 2 inch by 2 inch piece of the red velvet, modeled solid, for his wattle and his crop. This is the crop and that's the wattle. Everything else will be done with embroidery stitches. And you guys are going to have patience with me when it comes to the embroidery stitching because it's correct, Linda? Great! I'll have to remember that. Hopefully I'll continue to say it the right way. All right, so everything else is going to be done, covered with embroidery stitches. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, the pockets, the wing area, some shadowing. And I am not very proficient with anything other than the blanket stitch and the stem stitch. So I'm going to be learning as I go with some of these other stitches. I was thinking satin stitch for the eyes, nose, and mouth, a French knot for the turkey's eye, stem stitch here on the pockets, and I'll have to do a satin stitch, I guess, for the leaf up here. If anybody's proficient in these things, feel free to let me know and you can tell me how best to approach it. But hopefully you won't think I'm crazy for doing videos when I don't know exactly how to do all of these stitches. But I figured we'll figure it out as we go. All right, so let's see. Other things you are going to need to do this project. This is my favorite floss to use for wool applique. It finds its way into every wool applique piece I do. A lot of people like to use a thread that blends into their project or use the same color as the wool. And sometimes I definitely like to do that. But for the most part, and I'll show you on this sample piece, for the most part, I like to do the black. I did find that when I was doing the arms, I didn't like how the black looked. So it might just have been the black and the orange together, but I may end up using something else for the arms, but it might not be an issue because of course I'm going to be doing the head, neck, and arms. I need to recut these out. Head, neck, and arms with the terracotta this time. So the black might actually look quite nice with that. I tend to use either one strand or two strands for my blanket stitch. For the stem stitch, I'll use a variation. Sometimes I'll use 6 strands, sometimes I'll use 3 strands. All right, there's that. Okay, so for the most part, this is what we're going to be using. I'm going to be using. But I also like this. Patty, I know Patty's in here and she could tell you better. She might know this color. I just found this before I started the video, so I can't remember the name of this color. I'm going to guess it's probably oatmeal or something like that. It's Genziana threads. They're wool, acrylic, and I don't know if you guys can see that. Here's the name of the wool. Genziana, color 503, if that helps you. But I don't know what Lana is. Linen and acrylic, maybe? It doesn't feel, it's very soft thread. It's very, very nice. And I know Patty loves this thread, and she's the one that recommended it to me. So I might use this here and there. So please add that to your supply list if it's something you think you might want to use. There it is, Tina. It's 503, color 503. Walnut Valley Woolens carries it. Walnut Valley Woolens. And they're super ship to quick too. And she'll help you out. She'll know more about this thread. There's a couple of things actually you can find on Walnut Valley Woolens. Walnut Valley Woolens. I seem to be having trouble saying that today. Oh, Lana is wool? Good to know, Tina. Thank you. So it's wool, a wool acrylic blend. And Robin's told us during one of her videos where this wool came from, and now I cannot remember. But isn't this Italian? Lana and Acrylico or Acrylic? Tina, you might know. Where does this wool hail from? But this is a very, very good color, and it's a very, very nice thread, and it does sink right down into the wool, so you barely see it. So you might want to grab yourself a few of these, but you can find it on Walnut Valley Woolen's website, and it's very reasonably priced. These are very big spools. And also on Walnut Valley Woolen's is this glue basted from Roxanne. I don't typically use glue in my wool applique, but sometimes for the smaller pieces, it's extremely handy. All right, that's okay, Tina, no big deal. I want to say it's Italian, but I can't remember where she said this came from. Italy, France, somewhere. You could ask Robin. Not that you have to know that, but I always like to know where things come from. But anyway, so back to the wool. You can also find this on Walnut Valley Woolens. And like I said, I don't typically use wool. I more am a pin person. Italy, thank you, Patty. It's wonderful thread too, isn't it? Patty can tell you. Same with Tina. They both love this thread. So you can purchase this on Walnut Valley Woolens as well. And it is very handy. It's funny because I use this stuff. I bought it for Wool Applique, but I use it for everything. When I send out my issues of the Gazette, the envelopes that I get, they say they're gum sealed envelopes, but the darn things do not stick at all. I seal my envelopes with this because it works so well. And it's just very handy. It's got this wonderful little tip on it so you can get tiny, tiny bits. I did use it to hold my arms down on the wool piece because sometimes for tiny little pieces like arms, and I'll probably use it for the wattle and the crop and the stem, I would imagine. Things are small, and if you try to pin those small things down, it will shred your wool. So it is very good to use something like this. It's temporary basting glue. Something like this for holding those small pieces. And you'll want some of these wonderful pins. You might be able to find these on Walnut Valley Woolens as well. I don't remember where I got these. I've had these for years. I should have looked up a source for you, but I would imagine you can probably find them on Walnut Valley Woolens. I know Joann's Fabrics has tiny pins like this. I wonder what this was from. I actually have a couple containers. These are so, so handy. You can use whatever pins you have. Of course, I don't want you to run out and buy anything special just for my videos, but if you want to have something that helps ease your stitching, these pins truly do help because the longer pins get in the way. So these short pins really help. And I tend to, as you probably saw on my sample piece, I tend to stick them down in like this. And just when it's sitting there, I just hold things down in an up and down manner. I've never seen anybody do that, but you'll see as we go along, I tend to have my own way of doing things. But it just, to me, it helps when you want to take a look at everything to begin with, to just poke everything down and put it in place. And if you do this, put them down and, set down through, it tends to make things bubble up. Where if you just want to see what it's going to look like all laid out, this is a very good way to do it. The name of the color for 503 is linen. Perfect. That's an excellent color. And you know what? That makes sense. Thank you so much, Patty. Linen is this color, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to buy this thread to use, which it would look very nice used here. It looks probably looks a little more white because the light is so bright, but it is a perfect linen look. Or you could use, there's also this shaker white from Gentle Arts that I thought would be nice, but you'd have to separate it. And with this, you don't have to. You could just use the one strand and it sinks right in. It's very nice thread. Thank you again, Patty. Okay, so this is how I do it, and it tends to just hold things very nicely. And you can get a look at everything and lay it out. Do that as many times as you want because, you know, you're going to lay this out. But then when you go to stitch it, at least this is the way I do it, and some people might not do it that way. Oh, see, I thought, Patty, it was going to look, see, colors, this light is so bright that the colors are a little bit more in your face than they actually are. All these colors are more subdued than they're going to appear in this light. All right, so let me see. Oh, anyways, I don't know if this is how you all do wool applique, but I'll lay everything out, get it all situated, know where I want it, but then I'll lift it up when I stitch something. I don't leave everything in place. I move things, stitch something, then I'll lay the next piece out again. So I'm often taking the pins in and out. So if I do it this way, with I just bonk it down in there, it's not going to shred my wool over time, if that makes sense to you guys. All right, so another thing you'll need, and let me move this. You will need embroidery needles. Everybody has their favorite needles, and I'm not good at all with the numbers and how things go. These particular ones are a number 6 sharp. They have I do like the fact that they have a large eye. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know how to make it so you can see it. Oh, there we go. They have a fairly large eye so that you can fit several, you know, 2 or 3 strands of the thread through there and not have an issue. But I don't love these because they're a little too short for me. I tend to like a longer needle for wool applique. It's funny because it's not all that much longer, but it just seems to make a difference with me. I mean, it's a good amount longer, I guess, if you can see that. They're good needles, they're nice needles, but they're just not long enough for me. But I had them, so I thought I would show them to you. You'll need an embroidery needle. You'll want probably a couple of different sizes. You'll want one that will hold maybe 6 strands, in case we use 6 strands of thread for the stem stitch. And you'll want one, you know, that you can have another one that is a bit thinner that won't hold as many strands of thread. Good gracious, I'm losing my ability to speak. We might have to end soon. So anyways, pick your favorite needles. That's totally up to you, but you'll need embroidery needles, obviously, to do our wool applique. You'll need some tiny scissors. I like to use these kinds of scissors for wool applique. And then you'll want some larger scissors for cutting your wool. These I tend to use for anything and everything, but you'll also want some paper scissors to cut your template pieces out. Let me move these things. Now for the templates, you're going to need some freezer paper. I use Quilter's freezer paper. You can use grocery store freezer paper, that works absolutely fine. I have this because the fact that the grocery store freezer paper continually rolls back up on me drives me insane. So I use this, and I also love this because it's thin and you can see right through it. See how you can see the template through there? So it works beautifully. You just lay it down. You got your shiny side and your dull side, and you'll trace your template pieces, and then you can cut them out and put them on your wool. Let's see, I think that's all of our supplies. Now I'm just going to go over, I know we're nearing an hour, but I don't want to go yet. I hope nobody minds, I hope no one's sick of watching it with me, but I just wanted to go over before we leave, before we finish up for the day, how you're going to do. This is one of those things that I feel like you might not need instruction on, but I wanted to cover it anyways. So you're going to take your freezer paper, shiny side down, place it over your template, and then you just simply trace your template pieces. I tend to group mine together according to the wool colors I'm going to use. So I would draw the head, the neck, and the arms. There's two pieces here. See how thin that is? You could see through two pieces. You would just do the head, the neck, and the arms over in one corner because they're all going to be the same color. Make sure when you're tracing your template pieces that you get all the little details in there. And this is something else you probably all know, but make sure you separate all your little elements. This pumpkin you've got the head, that's one color, and the stem, that is another. So obviously you would need to separate those. This template, we'll only have one of everything, but often you'll need to trace with some designs, you would need two of something or just one. So that is how you would do it. I also tend to, you can number your template pieces or just name them, or maybe you could put an initial if it's a small piece. All right, so hopefully you can see that. Let me move this up. All right, so we'll do the arms here. I'm going to add a little bit of length onto the top of the arm and a little bit of length onto the bottom of the arm. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So it makes the arm a little bit longer on each end than what I originally drew, so that we can make sure that these arms are long enough. Hopefully, I don't think that one's long enough. There, that should be good for the two arms. Maybe I'll just make them the same darn length and we won't have to fight with it. There, okay? And so you would just continue on. Then this is all going to be the terracotta wool color. Then I would, maybe put the turkey over here, the skirt, the shawl. You can go ahead and do that. Off camera, I am going to finish drawing my template pieces on to my freezer paper. Then I'm going to cut my pieces out, cut out my pieces of wool in the size I need, according to my supply list. And then I will iron the template pieces onto their coordinating pieces of wool. And we will meet back here tomorrow at 11 o'clock and continue on from that point. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully you all won't mind tracing your template pieces and ironing your pieces onto your wool yourself. All right, so that is your homework, you might say. Trace your template pieces onto your freezer paper and then get your template pieces ironed onto the proper colors of wool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. Hopefully you guys didn't find this too confusing. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out or forget anything. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much, ladies. You guys have a wonderful day. Let's see, I'll switch back. Oh, thank you so much, ladies. Was there anything that I left out that you needed to know? Do you have any suggestions on how it might be better for you? Do you think it's okay that I'm having everyone draw their pieces themselves? Should I maybe cover that? I feel like maybe I should. Let's see. Should I maybe switch back and cover this? I find it a little bit hard to draw my template pieces the proper way when the camera is over. Natalie, I'm going to, it kind of depends on my internet, but my plan is I'm going to start uploading it onto YouTube this afternoon. So hopefully by this evening, they'll be on YouTube. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Patty. Do you guys think that drawing the template pieces onto the freezer paper, I couldn't think of the name of it, is something most people would know, or do you think I should try to cover that? I can't decide if that's something I should cover or not. Great, thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone. All right, I think I'm just simply going to draw everything onto the freezer paper, cut it out, and maybe I'll cover ironing it onto the wool. Okay, all right, great, ladies. You know what? Let's switch it back right now while we're still here, and I'm just going to draw it. Let's try it again. All right. I'm going to move it down. Oh, we'll see, Kelly. Good to know. I'm glad that you said you hadn't done it before, so now I'm going to cover it. Thank you, Debbie. You can stay if you want. I've decided to stay a little bit longer. Oh my God, people are going to watch this and think I'm crazy. I'll just continue on doing a little bit of drawing so that you can see how it's done. All right, shawl. It's easier if you just write on the pieces, as long as they're big enough. You can write on them. I really should have a little bit sharper pencil. This one is not quite sharp enough. All right, the head, the neck, the arms, that's going to be terracotta. Then we have one piece of the shawl. And then we have another piece of the shawl. And Kelly, do you see what I just did there? This piece, her arm piece is going to be, her arm is going to be over the shawl, but I still need to cut out this whole shawl piece. So I just drew over that part of the arm. So you really need to look at each element and see its shape. So that is, hopefully you can see that. See how you've got the one piece of shawl here and then the other piece of shawl here. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's what when you're looking at these pieces of freezer paper. But if you keep your template nearby, you can refer back to it. All right, so then we've got, this is wasting a little bit of freezer paper. Normally I would try to fit it in a little bit better than I am right now. But you just go over your pieces. Being sure to keep their shape, because if you don't keep the shape here, you'll lose the shape. Excuse me. Right, tail. Light. What was the name of this? Sand dollar. And then here is the, hope I still have you guys in the screen. There we go. I'm going to make this one a smidge longer than it is on the template. So keep that in mind as well. Not very much longer, but, oh, there we go. You guys still there? Oh my gosh, Debbie, you are so sweet. You just made my day. Thank you so much. Sorry, guys. I know this is getting a little crooked there. Hopefully, I didn't lose any of you. This light gets kind of warm. All right, so in case I froze up and you guys didn't hear me, when you draw these lines here, when you draw her skirt, and then when you draw this piece of tail and this piece of tail, God, that sounds awful, make sure you draw them exactly or they're not going to butt up together properly. At least that's the trouble I ran into when I went to stitch these together and I couldn't get the pieces to fit. So, all right, tail. And this is the dark piece of the tail. Gosh, this pencil needs sharpening. All right, so we did the head, the neck, the arms, the two pieces of shawl, these two tail feathers. Up here, I'm going to put Little Miss Turkey. And that goes without saying for all of your template pieces. Whenever you trace a template piece, you're going to want to trace it exactly as it is. Now, Kelly, here's another example. I'm not going to, that crop is not going to be part of this turkey cutout. It'll have its own separate piece. So do you see how I'm just drawing the turkey itself, and the crop and the wattle will be their own separate template pieces. And I will tell you, don't take me as an example, because at this angle I'm having a little bit of trouble staying right exactly on the lines. So do a better job than I'm doing. And don't forget, when you do your turkey piece, to go down and trace this edge so that template piece then becomes its own separate piece. See what I mean? We're probably going to struggle with this beak. Beak is going to be a challenge. Prepare yourselves. But we'll get it. Okay, and now I'm going to do the skirt. Oh, let me write turkey. I mean, this one's obviously, we can tell that's a turkey, but, and then that's going to be the light sand dollar. What's under here? Okay. I just put in an eye because my turkey has to have an eye even when it's a template piece. All right, now let's do the skirt. And the skirt, these lines, what I was talking about. And I'm going to go up a little bit past the shawl area, just because I'm going to be overlapping and I want to make sure that everything fits together nicely. So I'm giving the arms, the skirt, and did I give anything else, any extra length? I don't think so. So definitely just the arms and the skirt with a little bit of extra length to make sure when I lay them out and they'll overlap each other, things will fit together and look neat and tidy, if that makes sense. Skirt, pair. Okay, we need the stem. That's going to be army green. I'm going to fit that in right up here. Hopefully I'm still on camera with you guys, or you can still see what I'm doing is what I meant to say. I know I'm still on the camera. All right, that's the stem. And we're just going to put an A because it's too, I don't have room for army green. I think we almost have everything. These tiny pieces, this is the crop. And then this is his wattle. Yeah, see, it really doesn't even fill. Gosh, the light is kind of obnoxious. It doesn't even fill an 8.5 by 11 piece of freezer paper. So it, as you can see, it doesn't take a whole lot of wool. So now I have, excuse me, all of my template pieces filled out, or all of my template pieces traced onto my freezer paper. Now I will simply cut each one out, and you'll cut, some people cut directly on the lines. I tend to cut just next to the line. As you can see, I go along in that same shape and I leave a little bit of my pencil mark in that same shape. Now for something like this skirt, obviously it's big, I could do it right on the lines and be perfectly fine. But if you had something small, I tend to leave a little bit over the line so I can see my pencil lines. And then I will iron this down on my piece of wool. We'll pretend the skirt's going to be red. You iron it down, shiny side down onto the wool. And when you iron, let me lift this up, and I have my iron right here, so. And let me grab the proper wool color. Let me finish cutting this piece of skirt out. Hopefully you guys can still see me. Now, because I told you that this line is so important, over on this side, I am going to cut out exactly on this line. because I don't want any trouble with that tail feather not lining up. Okay, so the bottom's not a big deal. If you want to add your own little curves, you can, because that's not butting up against anything. Okay, so now I have my skirt template. You would simply lay. Ooh, there's some nice modeling right there. I think I'm going to have that, incorporate that into my skirt. You lay your piece down, and my iron obviously is not hot. I don't have it plugged in, but I don't have it on. But what you would do is you just simply lay your iron. Don't use steam. Lay your iron. Hold it for a second or two. Lift it up. Move it over. Press down. Lift it up. Move it over. Press down again. Don't rub back and forth, because that tends to have the glue move, and then your freezer paper won't stick. So just press and lift, press and lift. And you do that for all of your template pieces. And once you've got your pieces glued onto your wool, then you will just go around them and cut them out exactly how the template looks, which is sometimes why I tend to let my pencil marks stay, because once I get them on the wool, then I'll cut on the pencil marks, if that makes sense. All right, now this time, ladies, I think I'm really finished for the day. So before we meet tomorrow, if you would like, feel free to go ahead and draw all your templates and get all your templates ironed onto your wool. And if you're not comfortable cutting them out, don't worry about that. As a matter of fact, I may just iron them onto the wool and cut them out on camera tomorrow. So feel free to leave yours to that point as well. And until then, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everyone.